CreepyCorner stories.
Hey folks, before we dive into tonight's stories, I want to give a huge thank you to Kieran Tibbetts, Lisa Collin, 85, and Dark Impulse for supporting the channel and being amazing members. So if you enjoy what you hear tonight, you're in the right place. Now, grab your headphones, turn off the lights, and let's step into another amazing night. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below. What kind of story hits you the hardest? The ones that feel too real, or the ones that could actually happen to someone you know? A family rented our Christmas cabin. I found their full private life streaming on a dark web channel called Holiday Watchlist. So yeah, what's up guys? I've been holding on to this story for like 2 years now, but lately it's been eating away at me again. I think about it every December, and with how cold it's getting and everyone posting their holiday setups on IG and TikTok again, it's time I finally tell this. For context, my family owns a cabin in the Colorado Rockies. Not like some big luxury Airbnb or anything. It's modest. My dad bought it back in the early 2000s as a little getaway, and we'd spend every Christmas up there. Snowed in vibe, fireplace, the whole hot cocoa and watching Home Alone with your cousins kind of deal. The cabin's near this little town called Fairplay, which is honestly creepy in its own way when it gets dark and empty. Anyway, a couple of years ago, December 2022, my parents told me they were going to rent out the cabin on this low-key rental site. It wasn't Airbnb or Vorbo. It was something way smaller, like a boutique site for off-grid winter experiences. Some German tourists had rented it once before and loved it. So this December, they rented again to another family, and my mom was super hyped because the booking was for 2 full weeks, from December 20th to January 3rd. She even called them the perfect guests. But that's where this all starts getting weird. The perfect family. They booked under the name the Hartleys. Sounded normal. Mom, dad, 2 kids. They messaged all the polite little things. Looking forward to unplugging. Our daughter loves snow angels. My mom fell for it. She even left them board games and a holiday welcome basket with hot chocolate and a handwritten note. I'm not even gonna lie. I helped clean the place before they arrived, scrubbed the toilets, laid out the cozy throws on the couch, even set the thermostat to 70 so the place would be warm when they walked in. So December 20th rolls around. They check in. No issues. But by Christmas Eve, my parents get this automated alert from the security camera that's on the outside of the cabin. It's a cheap motion-activated cam pointed at the driveway. It was only there for wildlife, really. The alert showed up at 2:13 a.m. on December 24th. It was snowing hard. Visibility sucked, but you could just make out someone standing at the edge of the driveway. Not one of the Hartleys. It wasn't the dad. This guy was tall, hunched over, and standing absolutely still, face blurred by the snow. Now, here's the part that's gonna sound fake as hell, but I swear, I still have the screenshot. This person was wearing a reindeer mask, like a full head rubber mask, antlers and all, in the middle of the night. No one ever walked up the driveway, no footsteps. He was just there, watching. Then, 5 minutes later, the alert stopped. Snow covered the tracks instantly. We never saw where he went. When the family stopped responding, my dad chalked it up to some backwoods weirdo and didn't tell the Hartleys. But I started feeling off about it. I tried looking them up online. like Instagram, Facebook. Couldn't find anything. It was weird in a way I couldn't put my finger on. No digital footprint in 2022. Not even the kids? Weird, but okay. Maybe they were one of those tech minimalist families. Whatever. But then on Christmas Day, my mom texted them to say Merry Christmas and ask if they needed anything. No response. She waited. Sent another one the next morning. Hope you're staying warm. Let us know if the snow gets too heavy. Still nothing. That's when she asked me to log into the cabin's Wi-Fi router admin page. Yeah, we're that kind of family. I know how to access the IP logs. The cabin's Wi-Fi is limited, but I could still check if people were online. And that's when I noticed something else. At 3:41 a.m. on December 25th, the cabin's Wi-Fi usage spiked, like exploded. It showed nearly 40 gigs of data uploaded in less than 15 minutes. Not downloaded. Uploaded. I didn't know what that meant at the time. Thought maybe someone was FaceTiming or uploading holiday videos to the cloud. Then 2 days later, my entire perception of reality flipped. The discovery. I was browsing Reddit late at night, like I usually do, deep in r/creepypasta and r/deep web browsing, just reading random nonsense. But then I came across a comment in this buried thread about creepy live streams. One guy mentioned a hidden site on the dark web called Holiday Watchlist. Said it was only active during December. The comment had 6 upvotes. Nothing major. Out of boredom, I started Googling. Most results were nothing. Urban legends, made up horror stories. But then I clicked on a .onion mirror. Someone linked in the comments. Yes, I use Tor. Don't recommend it unless you know what you're doing. The site was minimal. Black background, red font. Welcome back to Holiday Watchlist. Streaming festive family moments. Live. I scrolled down. There were 6 active streams. No thumbnails. Just location names and stream titles. The Boy Who Can't Sleep. Tokyo. Grandma's Lost Eggnog. Vienna. Carolers in the Attic. Quebec. Sled or Die. Chicago. Silent Night. Screaming Night. Wales. The Hartley Cabin Feed. Fair Play. CO. I Stopped Breathing. That's our cabin. That's the name the family used. And the feed was live. I clicked it. What I saw made my skin crawl so hard, I still feel it to this day. The feed. It was a single, high-up angle from the corner of the living room, like a GoPro hidden up near the rafters. The entire family was sitting on the floor in a circle, lights off. Only the fireplace flickered. The parents were holding hands. But the weirdest part, they weren't looking at each other. They were staring, like all 4 of them, wide-eyed and grinning, at something off camera. Just staring. No one blinked. The daughter's mouth was twitching like she was trying not to scream. The stream had over 9,000 viewers. The chat was going crazy with comments like, "Don't blink yet, lol. Look at the dad's hands. He's shaking. Are they gonna play the reindeer game?" I noped out of there so fast I almost puked. I tried calling my parents, panicking. No answer. I sent them screenshots. My mom texted back, finally, saying, "What the hell is this? The Hartleys checked out yesterday." But here's the thing. They didn't. The driveway cam showed no car leaving. The snow had no tire tracks. And when my dad drove up to check the cabin, the car was still there. Keys in the ignition. Inside, empty. No sign of the Hartleys. No luggage. No clothes. No footprints in the snow. No food in the trash. Like they were never real. But on the wall above the fireplace, was a single ornament hanging by itself, a little reindeer with a camera in its eye. My dad didn't sleep that night. He called me 3 separate times on the drive back from the cabin, each time sounding more shaken. He's not the kind of man who scares easy. He's the type who calmly removes a spider from the bathroom with his bare hands and releases it outside. But this rattled him down to the bone. He said the entire cabin felt wrong. Not messy, not ransacked, just lived in, like someone had been there for days without leaving fingerprints or footprints or signs of travel. The air felt stale and warm, like too many people were breathing in a room with no windows open. The fireplace was dead cold, and the reindeer ornament on the wall, he didn't touch it. He said he physically couldn't get close to it. When he tried, every hair on his arms stood straight up, like the air was buzzed with static. But that wasn't the part that freaked him out the most. It was the smell. Not smoke, not mold, not animals. He told me it smelled like breath. Someone else's, hot, damp, way too close, like someone had exhaled over every surface in the cabin. And the worst part? The upstairs bedroom window, the one facing the woods, was unlocked. Snow around the cabin was untouched. No tracks, no trails, nothing. Something got in, and whatever it was, didn't use the door. The dark web stream changed. While he was dealing with that, I, stupidly, opened the holiday watchlist site again. I told myself I was just checking if the Hardly stream was still active, but I think deep down I wanted proof this wasn't real, that it was some ARG, a hoax, a messed up but explainable scam. But the moment the page loaded, I swear the temperature in my room dropped. There were now 7 streams, and at the bottom, 7. Caretaker's son arrives early. Denver, CO, my city, my neighborhood. I thought maybe it was random. Maybe someone else in Denver was unlucky enough to be next. But when I hovered over it, a preview window popped up. And there I was. Not live footage, not hidden camera. A still image. My bedroom window. Taken from outside. I pushed my chair back so hard it scraped the wall. I shut my blinds so fast I nearly ripped them off the frame. My heart was hammering so hard I could hear blood in my ears. It didn't make sense. No one could have gotten that angle. There's no ladder access to my window. I'm on the 2nd floor, and I didn't hear anything. Not footsteps, not tapping, nothing. Just that still image burned into my brain, my curtains half open, my lamp spilling yellow light across the room, and a faint reflection in the window that wasn't mine. Antlers, tiny ones, like a child wearing a reindeer mask. The police didn't believe us. My dad reported trespassing. He didn't mention the stream. He didn't mention the family vanished. He didn't mention the smell of someone breathing inside the walls. He didn't mention the reindeer ornament watching him with its glossy black eye. Because who would believe that? The sheriff drove up, did a quick look around, shrugged, and said we probably spooked ourselves. That the tenants must have left through the woods. That the smell was maybe animals nesting. My dad didn't argue. He just wanted someone else to walk inside that cabin and feel it, to confirm it wasn't just him. But the sheriff barely stepped through the door. He stood there for maybe 5 seconds, sniffed the air, and stepped right back out. I could hear it in his voice when he spoke next, shaken, but pretending not to be. You all should get a better cleaning service. Smells stale. He didn't go upstairs. He didn't check the woods. He didn't stay in the cabin longer than he had to. He left, and my dad locked the door and drove home without looking in the rearview mirror. Something was left behind. The next morning, I woke up to 6 missed calls from my dad. He never calls me early. He hates waking people up. But the second I answered, he asked, "Did you watch the stream again?" "No," I lied. "What happened?" He didn't speak for a moment. "They updated it." "Updated? What?" I opened the site again, heart pounding. The stream names had changed. The Hardly Cabin feed was still there, but the title now read, "Family Relocation Complete, Awaiting Replacement Occupants." And below it was a new line. "Next arrival, 36 hours. My chest tightened, but then I saw something else, something impossibly worse. Under the Denver stream, the one showing my window, the still image was gone. Instead, it was a black screen with white text. Subject has noticed us. Us, plural. Before I could close the browser, a second line appeared live. "Do not sleep tonight." I slammed my laptop shut. I didn't even dare breathe. What my dad found in the cabin's guest book. My mom always leaves a cute little notebook on the living room table. Guests write fun little messages like "loved staying here" or "the stars were so bright." That morning, my dad finally opened it. The last entry was written in shaky, slanted handwriting, like the writer could barely keep the pen steady. It read, "We didn't rent this cabin." Then a second line, written in a darker stroke, like the pen dug into the paper. "They said we were perfect for this year's list." Then faintly, barely legible, "Do not look in the woods at night." And beneath that, a symbol, a crude drawing, a reindeer head, but the eyes were just scribbled black circles that got denser the longer you stared at them, like holes, like voids, like something had pressed its face close while the writer was shaking too hard to finish. My dad closed the book and left it exactly where it was. He didn't take it home. He didn't want to touch it again. The woods behind the cabin. This part, I still don't know how to explain it in a way that doesn't sound insane. When my dad walked outside to lock up, he saw something new. There were tracks in the snow now. Not boot prints, not animals. They were small, human-shaped, like a child's footprints. But the stride was wrong. Too long, too far apart, as if whoever made them wasn't walking. They were landing, from the trees, straight from the branches down into the snow. Dozens of sets, all facing the same direction, toward the cabin. He followed them with his eyes, not his feet. They continued around the house, then stopped abruptly at the side wall, directly below the upstairs bedroom window, the one that had been unlocked, the one no one opened, the one the sheriff didn't check. My dad didn't check it either. He just turned, walked to the car, and drove home. He didn't even warm up the engine. He didn't stop to breathe. He told me later, "Something was in those woods, son, and it wasn't cold." My phone started buzzing. I hadn't slept. I hadn't closed the blinds again. Every time a car passed outside, I flinched. Every time a tree creaked, I felt sick. Then my phone started vibrating. Notification after notification after notification, all from unknown numbers. At first, it was texts. "Why did you leave the window open? We saw you jump back from it. Lol. Stay where you are. Stream starts soon." Then FaceTime calls. Dozens. Every time I declined, another came in. Then, finally, a simple text. "Turn around." I didn't. I didn't move. But in the reflection on my black laptop screen, I saw something shift at the base of my door, like a shadow that wasn't mine, like someone crouching just out of sight, breathing, slow, deep, barely audible. except it was audible, and it wasn't just one person. The air moved with it. The carpet fibers stirred. You know that feeling when someone stands behind you and doesn't speak? When the silence gets too heavy? Multiply that by 10. That's what it felt like. Like a group of people were inches behind my door, all leaning forward, all listening, waiting. The floorboards didn't creak. My room didn't get colder. It got warmer. Like breath. Like the cabin. The final message. On the stream. By midnight, the holiday Watchlist site updated again. A new header stretched across the top in dripping red letters. The replacements have been selected. And beneath it, cabin ETA, 29 hours. And below that, in smaller type, Denver participant will be escorted shortly. Participant, not victim, not occupant, not target. Participant, like I had already signed up, like I had already agreed. Then the stream that once showed my window switched to a new image. My street, taken from the middle of the road, my house centered perfectly in the frame, and something standing in front of it, tall, still, covered in snow, a full reindeer mask. But this time, it wasn't alone. There were 6 of them, all facing my window, all completely motionless, all waiting. I don't know how long I sat frozen in my room. At some point, the vibration of my phone stopped. The FaceTime call stopped. Even the street outside went dead quiet, like the whole world was holding its breath. But the warmth didn't go away. It stayed pressed against my door, dense, humid, patient, like someone was inches away on the other side, breathing through fabric. I didn't dare look. I didn't want confirmation that the gap beneath the door was darkened by feet, knees, hands. Something crouched. I kept listening, trying to convince myself I imagined it, until I heard a sound that shattered every last bit of denial. Not knocking, not footsteps, scraping, deliberate, slow, dragging, like fingernails or something harder, running in a long, unbroken line down the wooden panels of my door. Not to break it, not to open it, just to let me know they were there, testing the surface, measuring it, and then faintly, behind the scrape, a voice, not speaking words, not whispering, just breathing in laughter, that trembling, breathy sound people make when they're trying not to laugh aloud, except there were multiple versions of it, deep, high, fast, slow, layered, like a whole group pressing their faces to the door, chuckling silently at the exact same joke. Me. I didn't move an inch, not even to breathe, because that would have told them I heard. My dad's return call my phone buzzed once, just once, and I nearly threw it across the room. It was my dad. I answered without making a sound. Before I could explain, he said, "Stay away from the windows." His voice was low, not scared, warning. I whispered, "Dad, they're outside." There was a pause on the other end, not a natural pause. A pause where someone is compressing 50 emotions under one breath. "No," he said. "They're inside. They're always inside first." My blood went cold. Inside what? The house? The room? The stream? Before I could ask, he continued, "Lock yourself somewhere they haven't mapped, somewhere they haven't seen." "What does that mean?" He inhaled sharply. "Don't go to the bathroom. Don't go to the kitchen. Don't go to the living room. They've already scanned those rooms through your phone camera." My stomach dropped. How did he know that? He whispered, "They messaged me too." My dad's messages. He sent them to me. Screenshots, notifications, pop-ups, all from the same unknown numbers spamming me. "Your son is awake. He's watching us. Watch him. We like his room better than the cabin. Send him back before we escort him. Parents who interfere. will be added to the list. I felt my chest tighten. Panic, guilt, horror. I didn't even know what "send him back" meant. My dad's final screenshot was the worst. A picture of him through our cabin window from earlier that day, taken from inside the house. The angle wasn't possible. The only person inside the cabin had been him. Unless the Hartleys never left, or something that looked like them didn't. The door stopped scraping. Silence returned all at once, too thick, too perfect, like someone pressed a mute button on the entire house. Even the hum of the heater paused. I didn't trust it. Silence is bait in these situations. But after nearly a full minute, I heard something even worse. Weight shifting on my staircase. A single step, then another. Not rushed, not searching. Ascending, coming up for me. I backed against the wall, every muscle locked. I didn't know what was safer, closing my eyes or keeping them open. Halfway up the stairs, the noise stopped, and then something tapped my bedroom door. Not knocking, not scratching, just one gentle tap, like someone tapping your shoulder in a crowd, expecting you to answer. I didn't, so it tapped again. 2 taps this time, patient, rhythmic, almost excited. Then a third set, faster, like hands unable to contain themselves. Tap, 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 tap. Then silence again. I waited. The door handle didn't move. The hinges didn't groan. Nothing forced its way in. Instead, something slid under the door. A piece of paper, folded once. I stared at it like it was a venomous animal. It stared back, motionless on the carpet. I didn't want to touch it, but I couldn't not read it. I reached with my foot and dragged it closer, then unfolded it with the very tips of my fingers, like a bomb might go off. It was a printed screenshot of my holiday watchlist stream, the one titled "Caretaker's Son Arrives Early," but the image wasn't of my window anymore. It was of my bedroom door, and on the door, right above the handle, someone had marked a fresh symbol drawn in black ink, a reindeer head, the same design from the cabin guestbook, but underneath it was a message. Open up. The 7th shadow. I couldn't stay in the room. I knew that. They wanted me to stay frozen, to wait for the door to open on their terms. So I made a choice. Not a brave one, just the only one I had. I slipped out my window. 2nd floor. Night air like knives. Hands shaking so bad I almost missed the ledge. I climbed onto the roof, crawled across the shingles, and dropped into the bushes below. The landing was louder than I wanted, snow crunching, branches snapping, but the neighborhood stayed still, except for one thing. Across the street, those 6 masked figures were still standing exactly where they had been hours earlier, unmoving, facing my house. But now there were 7. The 7th was shorter, child height, and when my foot crunched in the snow, only the small one moved. Its head snapped toward me, fast, too fast, like it had been waiting specifically for that sound. The mask tilted, one sharp, interested tilt. Then it stepped forward, just one step, but the snow beneath it didn't compress, because it wasn't standing on the snow. It was standing just above it, like its feet weren't connected to the ground, like it had been carried there, or dropped. The others didn't move, not one. They held their positions like mannequins waiting for their cue. But the small one, it slowly lifted one hand and pointed at me, then pointed toward the road leading into the woods, the direction of the cabin, as if telling me, "Go back, you're due. The list is waiting." My dad's last message. Before my battery died, my phone vibrated again. I ducked behind the car in our driveway, and answered immediately. My dad didn't waste time. "Don't go anywhere alone. They're trying to move you." "Move me where?" He swallowed. I heard it. That's how close he was to losing composure. "To the cabin. They want a replacement for the Hartleys." I pressed my hand over my mouth. "No, Dad. They're outside the house. They're watching the door. They sent..." He cut me off. "They don't care about the house. Locations are temporary. They care about people." "What does that even mean?" Silence. Then, "Son, they're not breaking in because they don't need to. Once you're on the list, you go where they follow." My breath fogged the air, but it wasn't cold anymore. The warmth had followed me outside, like breath against the back of my neck. Then his final sentence came, barely audible. "They already know you left the room." Then my phone screen turned black. Battery, 63%. Not dead, just black. A new notification slid across the blank screen in pure red text. "Stream resuming. Stay visible." The small masked figure across the street nodded once, slow, purposeful, and somewhere behind me, on the other side of the house, something very large exhaled. There's a certain kind of silence the world only makes when it's watching you back. That's what it felt like after the seventh figure pointed toward the road leading to the woods. Not like a choice, like a command. My hands were bleeding from the bushes I'd crashed into. I didn't feel it. I was too cold, too wired, too full of whatever primal electricity keeps prey alive in the final seconds before the predator decides to finish playing. My house stood still, lights on in my bedroom, my blinds twitching from the heat vent still running. But I wasn't in there, and they knew. They weren't rushing. They didn't need to. They had time. I was already marked, already on the list. And the list doesn't lose people. I had to go back. Every survival instinct screamed to keep running, but it didn't matter. The stream had resumed, which meant I was already being tracked again. Wherever I went, they'd follow. But I had one thought that stuck in my mind like a broken key in a lock. My dad had gone back to the cabin, alone, and he never came home. His texts stopped. No more screenshots. No more missed calls. I checked every camera app, every burner email we'd been using to trace the streams. Nothing. Gone. So I made the worst decision of my life. I called an Uber. The drive to the cabin. The driver was quiet. Too quiet. Middle-aged. Bold. Smelled like old cough drops and Red Bull. Never made eye contact. Didn't say a word until we passed the last gas station before fair play. Then, without looking at me, he asked, "You visiting someone?" I lied and said yes. Said family was staying in a cabin. A nice Christmas getaway. He nodded, but then he said something I can't forget. Used to be more families this time of year. Now it's mostly people like you. I stared at him. What kind of people? Still no eye contact. The ones who don't come back. He didn't elaborate. I didn't ask. We drove the rest of the way in silence. The closer we got, the darker it got. No moon, no stars, no headlights from behind. Just tall black trees reaching out over the road like 1,000 arms trying to blot out the world. At exactly 2:11 a.m., he pulled onto the gravel path. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't wait. He just turned around the second I stepped out and left me standing in front of the cabin door I hadn't seen in weeks. Except now, it was open. Inside was wrong. The heat was on, fireplace burning, but it didn't feel warm. It felt occupied, like something had just ducked out of view the moment I entered, like something had been waiting for the exact moment I crossed the threshold before exhaling in relief. The reindeer ornament was gone. In its place, above the mantel, was a photo, framed, glossy, hung with care. The Hartleys, the exact same pose they sat in during the stream, cross-legged on the rug, hands folded, but their smiles were different, wider, stretched, forced. Their eyes didn't match the smiles, because the eyes weren't human anymore. They were black, not like demon orbs or horror movie CG nonsense. Black like rot, black like glass melted over eyeballs, still wet, and behind them, barely visible, was the outline of a seventh person, in the shadows, wearing a mask, too short to be an adult, too tall to be a child. The wall had changed, the guestbook was gone. Instead, the wall beside the front door now had a grid carved into it. 6 horizontal lines, 6 vertical, 36 boxes, like a calendar or a roster, and in one of the middle boxes was a symbol scratched so deep into the wood I could see splinters, a reindeer head. Beneath it, the Hartleys, occupied. Another box, 3rd row, 2nd column, had a new name etched just beneath. The caretaker's son, in transit. My stomach lurched, but the worst was the box in the top right corner, the only one outlined in red. Seat reserved. No name, no symbol, just empty, waiting, like someone special was meant to fill it. Like all this, every mask, every stream, every whisper, wasn't about random families. It was a ritual, a casting call, the basement. I hadn't been down there since I was a kid. It used to be filled with old snow gear, firewood, an emergency generator. Cold, damp, nothing special. Now, the light bulb at the top of the stairs had been replaced with a red one. The stairs felt soft under my feet, like they'd been wrapped in cloth, muffled. Every step downward was too quiet, too absorbed. I reached the bottom and immediately felt it. The warmth, that thick, humid breath that had followed me from my room weeks earlier. And then I saw the walls, not concrete anymore. Every surface had been covered in mirrors, cheap, thin, dollar store mirrors, glued at awkward angles. Some were cracked, others still had price tags. They didn't reflect right. They weren't showing me. They were showing other rooms, cabins, living rooms, bedrooms, all flickering with movement. I leaned closer. Each one showed a family, frozen, sitting, silent, all staring towards the camera, or mirror, or us. In one reflection, I saw a boy being led into a room with 7 chairs. In another, I saw a woman sobbing quietly, while a masked child traced a symbol onto her hand with a piece of ash. In the center of the floor was a circle burned into the wood, deep, scorched, and in the center of that, a phone. My dad's, still unlocked, still recording, battery at 1%. Before it shut off, I watched the last 30 seconds of video he'd captured. It wasn't the house, it wasn't the woods, it was a tunnel, narrow, carved in ice, filled with whispering. The camera tilted once, before going black, and in those final moments, a face leaned into frame behind him. A mask, but not a reindeer. This one was smooth, porcelain, expressionless, no mouth, no nose, just holes for eyes. The feed came back online. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I didn't take it out. I didn't have to, because one of the basement mirrors flashed red. Text appeared across it like a stream update. Host has returned to origin site. Extraction begins now. Replacement assigned. Then, the other mirrors flickered. Each one now showed me, standing in the basement, but not from my angle. They were seeing me from the ceiling, which meant there was a camera above me. I looked up, just in time to see the trapdoor slide open. They don't use doors. The thing that dropped through wasn't human. I'll die on that statement. I don't care what they call it in the files. I don't care what the news says when they find an empty house and chalk it up to carbon monoxide. What dropped through the ceiling looked like it used to be a person, but it wasn't anymore. Its arms were too long. Its head was wearing a reindeer mask, but the antlers were growing out of it. Its chest heaved in slow, rhythmic jerks, like it was breathing backwards, and in one hand it held a phone. My live stream, still running, still broadcasting, chat filling up in real time. He finally came back, LOL. The host is ready. Seat reserved for him. The thing didn't run, didn't attack. It just watched. And then it said, in the voice of my dad, perfectly mimicked, "You're next." This isn't the kind of horror you wake up from. It's not a dream. It's not something that flickers off when the movie ends, or when the screen goes black, or when the YouTube video autoplay kicks in. It stays underneath you, like black ice under a frozen lake, waiting for the crack. The cabin didn't kill me. It did something worse. It let me leave, but not before it showed me, not before it used me, not before it unfolded its teeth and let me see the entire mouth underneath this holiday watchlist lie. They don't feed, they build. The reindeer thing that dropped through the trapdoor didn't chase me. It didn't touch me. It just stood there and stared and listened, like it wasn't fully there yet, like it wasn't allowed to move until I made a decision, like it was waiting for me to take a step in any direction so it could react accordingly. Every breath it took was backward, a sucking reverse inhale that made the basement feel like it was shrinking inward around me, like the cabin had lungs and I was standing inside one of them, and all I could hear was my dad's voice on repeat, but wrong, glitched, cracked, melting like wax. "You're next. You're next. You're next." That last one didn't come from the creature. It came from the phone in its hand, the live stream, thousands of people watching, no chat delay, no lag, just a never-ending flood of, "We see you. Touch the circle. All you have to do is take his place. Be a good host." The circle wasn't a symbol, it was a switch. Remember the burned circle in the floor? That wasn't ritualistic, that was technical. The entire basement had been wired underneath the wood, barely noticeable unless you felt the warmth humming directly under your feet. The mirrors weren't just decorations, they were receivers, and the basement wasn't just watching others, it was a transmission node. I stepped into the circle, not because I wanted to, because there was nowhere else to go. And the second my feet crossed the ring, the live stream glitched, visibly, static, a ripple, and then the chat vanished, replaced with host confirmed, seat reassigned. The network were complete, and then everything began to shift. It wasn't a cabin, it was a gate. The air cracked, not the walls, not the floor, the air, like something unzipping, peeling itself open, a sound you're not supposed to hear in the human register. Imagine a VHS tape being rewound through your jawbone. Behind the creature, the mirrors changed, not to new families, not to new streams. They all synchronized. They all pointed to one place, me, from different angles, different times, different versions of me. One was standing in the forest, bleeding from the nose. One was crawling across snow-covered concrete, fingernails missing. One was in the back seat of a moving car, eyes wide, mouth open like he was screaming, except no sound was coming out. And they were all staring directly into the camera. And then the mirrors began to fracture. Not break, not shatter. Fracture. Like reality didn't know where to pin me anymore. Like it couldn't decide which version of me was real. The Harleys were never a family. You want to know the truth? They weren't people. They weren't victims. They weren't a family. They were avatars, shells, like mannequins dressed in normal, something the system used to map the emotions of others. Holiday Watchlist didn't stream families. It trained entities. Every stream wasn't just surveillance. It was input. Every viewer in the chat wasn't a person. It was a node, an AI, an observer, each one dissecting human behavior through performance capture. Every gigabyte uploaded wasn't footage. It was data, reactions, body temperature, movement, response to trauma, voice fluctuation under stress. They were studying us. Holiday Watchlist is a skin farm. And I was the final upload. The moment the mirrors cracked, every piece, I felt it. I wasn't in the cabin anymore. I was in a room. No doors, no light source. Just mirrors all around me. And every reflection showed a different me. But none of them blinked. They stared, dead, mouths open, some smiling, some sobbing. Then the voices started. My dad, my mum, the Hartley kids, the Uber driver, all overlapping. You took the seat. You watched too long. You went back. You completed the loop. Then one voice, louder than the rest, mechanical, monotone. A New York VIP club booked our campground. Someone found their names on a dark web hit list before the party even started. Yo. So, I don't really do Reddit posts, but I've been lurking on r/no sleep for a minute. And after what happened last month, I think I need to get this out. I haven't slept right since. And no, this isn't some haunted mirror or demon in my basement type story. This was real. This happened to me, my cousin Josh, and our group. No filters, no metaphors, just straight facts that still have me checking my locks 5 times before bed. So it started with this exclusive invite my cousin got. Josh is like that dude who's always bouncing around clubs trying to network. He's got one of those faces that's always in selfies with random Instagram models, like he's famous but isn't. You know the type. He randomly hits me up one Thursday in early October, says, "Yo, you trying to hit this weekend camping party? It's upstate, private land, influencers only kind of deal." At first, I was like, nah, I'm not into the clout chasing life. But he was insistent. Bro, this ain't like a chill in the woods trip. It's sponsored. This place got lights, DJs, free drinks, even a brand partnership with some underground fashion label called White Door. You don't even need gear. They got glamping tents and everything set up. I checked the flyer he forwarded me on Instagram. Real aesthetic, deep red and black color scheme. The logo was a stylized eye, almost like a camera lens with a dot at the center. It looked back at you, like it knew you were looking at it. It had the name Club Necked at the top, in chrome letters, like some high-end Soho gallery event. The location just said, private upstate campground. Coordinates will be sent 24 hours before arrival. That should have been red flag number 1. But I said screw it. I've been working remote, stress was killing me, and the idea of free food, open bar, and no cell service for a weekend sounded kinda dope. So Saturday morning, me, Josh, and our friend group, 6 of us total, packed into 2 cars and headed north from Brooklyn. We stopped at this random McDonald's near Yonkers on the way. I remember this because it was one of the last normal moments before everything spiraled. The drive was about 3.5 hours into these woods that felt untouched by time. Like GPS stopped working halfway in, and we had to rely on screenshots Josh took of the route. By the time we got there, the sun was low, hitting golden through the trees. The campground was massive. Fairy lights strung across thick pines, speakers already thumping low bass in the distance. People dressed like runway models stepping out of black SUVs. Not even kidding, I saw a verified TikTok travel vlogger walk by with a film crew. I started to wonder if we were way out of our depth, but Josh was eating it up. He was doing shots with this guy named Milo before we even unpacked. The tents were unreal. All black canvas domes with thick rugs, mood lighting, stocked coolers. It didn't feel like camping. It felt like stepping into some VIP art exhibit. People were already half drunk, half undressed, dancing around bonfires, while some industrial DJ set played off a massive Bluetooth speaker setup. The crowd was weirdly quiet though, not in a shy way, more like watchful, like they were all waiting for something. That first night was chill enough. Drinks, music, dancing. A little too curated, if you know what I mean. Like the crowd wasn't having fun, they were performing fun. Everything felt watched, and it wasn't just me. My friend Sarah, who's normally the party animal, leaned over around midnight and whispered, "Is it just me, or does it feel like everyone here already knows each other except us?" She was right. No one asked where we were from. No one tried to make small talk. If we approached a group, they just smiled, stared, then turned back around. One guy even had this weird silver badge hanging from his lanyard that said approved. I brushed it off at the time. Thought maybe we'd crash some influencer retreat by accident. But then Sunday morning rolled around. That's when things got messed up. We woke up to a low hum. Not music, something deeper. It sounded mechanical, like a generator running underwater. I stepped out of the tent, and the whole campground was empty. Tent still there, lights still glowing, but not a single person in sight, except one guy sitting cross-legged in the middle of the clearing. He had a laptop open on a foldable table, just staring at the screen. No Wi-Fi out there, so I thought maybe it was a prop or something. I walked closer, called out, "Yo, you good?" No response. When I got close enough to see the screen, my stomach dropped. It was a dark web browser. Tor. He was on a site with a black background and white courier text. No images, just a scrolling list of names and photos. Every name had a tag next to it that said pending or complete. And I swear to God, at the top of the list, highlighted in red, was Josh's full name. Right under it, Sarah's, then mine. Pending. I backed away fast, heart going crazy in my chest. I thought it was a prank, but the photos matched our Instagram profiles exactly. Same filters, same profile pics. I turned to run back to the tent, but tripped. Someone had left a drone on the ground, its camera pointed right at our tent entrance. My brain hadn't even processed that before Milo, the dude from the first night, stepped out of the trees holding a radio. He smiled, but not like a normal smile. It didn't touch his eyes. You weren't supposed to see that yet. And that's when I knew we weren't at a party. We were part of something else. And we had no idea how deep it went. I didn't scream. I don't know why. Maybe because Milo was still smiling, and something in me said, If I reacted the wrong way, even flinched, I'd vanish, just like the others. His eyes never left mine. One of those predator stares, slow and deliberate, like a cat watching a dying bird twitch. I backed up, careful, steady, but the forest behind me wasn't quiet anymore. Leaves crunched, branches snapped. I wasn't alone. There were others, people or things I couldn't see, but I felt them circling, breathing. You ever feel a presence so close behind you that your skin tightens like it's trying to peel itself off your bones? That's what it felt like. Then Milo raised the radio to his mouth and said, "We have an early riser." And I ran, not toward the tent, not toward Josh, just into the trees. Full sprint. Adrenaline makes the woods feel like a moving hallway. Branches grabbing at your clothes, the terrain dipping and twisting like it's trying to eat you alive. I must have run 10 minutes before I tripped on something thick and wet and hit the ground so hard I saw static. When I sat up, my hands were sticky, red. I thought I was bleeding until I saw what I'd landed on. It was a deer, or had been. Its legs were snapped backward, like someone had folded it in half. Its eyes were still open, tongue out. But the worst part, and I need you to understand this because this is real, this was right in front of me, was that its head had been sewn shut, like someone had stitched its mouth completely closed with what looked like rusted piano wire. Do you know how long it takes to do something like that to an animal that size? I threw up, dry heaved. My body didn't even want to be in my skin anymore. And then someone laughed, soft, high-pitched, giggling. It came from the trees above me. I looked up, and for a second, just a second, I saw a girl, blonde, maybe 12, wearing a white dress stained with mud and something darker. No shoes, just crouched high in the branches, like she was born there. Her eyes were solid black. She didn't move like a kid. She moved like a spider. She tilted her head and whispered, "You're not on the list anymore." Gone. Blinked out like a trick of the light. I didn't care what was real anymore. I ran again. Somewhere between sobbing and panting and begging, I found myself back at camp. Except now, it wasn't a party. It was organized. People were standing in a perfect circle around the center clearing, silent, still, like statues in designer clothes. I saw Josh among them, stiff as a corpse, eyes wide, tears rolling down his cheeks, but not moving. His lips were trembling, like he was trying to scream, but couldn't open his mouth. In the center of the circle was Sarah, kneeling. They'd stripped her down to her underwear. Her arms were tied behind her back with what looked like USB cords. Her mouth was stuffed with a black cloth, duct-taped shut. Someone had drawn a camera lens, like the Club Noct logo, on her forehead in charcoal or ash. Milo stood behind her, holding a phone. He smiled again, then looked at me and said, "You're just in time." And then he started recording. This wasn't a live stream. This wasn't for social media. This was for something deeper, private, niche, probably buried 100 levels under the surface of the web. "Tonight," he said, voice silky, practiced, "we welcome the outsider to the performance. No edits, no cuts, just raw, authentic consequence." He handed the phone to someone else, then knelt next to Sarah. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a long, thin knife, the kind chefs use to fillet fish, and without hesitation, no speech, no warning, he sliced a line across her thigh. Not deep enough to kill, just enough to bleed, just enough to hurt. She screamed against the gag. Her body convulsed, trying to break the cords, but the crowd didn't move. They just watched, like it was art, like it was a show. He made another cut, then another, slow, precise, like he was sketching a picture. Her name, over and over. Sarah, in red across her legs, her stomach, her arms. He never touched anything fatal. This was torture as performance. Theater. I wanted to rush him. I wanted to run. I did nothing. I froze. My body was ice and my brain was screaming, but I could not move. And then, a phone buzzed. Someone in the circle picked it up, glanced at the screen, nodded. Milo stood up, sheathed the knife, and smiled down at Sarah like he'd just signed a masterpiece. "Your name's cleared," he said. Then to me, "She made it off the list. You still have a chance, too." They dragged her away into the woods. She wasn't moving. I think she passed out, or maybe worse, and everyone turned to me. That's when I realized what this was. Not a cult, not a murder club. It was a subscription service. People weren't watching us for fun. They were paying. Donors, VIPs, the kinds of names that don't show up on tax records, the ones who own offshore accounts and stay off camera. The party was a front. The dark web page I saw was a cue. These weren't random killings. It was custom content. Some psycho somewhere in Prague or Tokyo or Dubai clicked a button, picked a victim, and watched. Paid thousands, maybe millions, to watch a specific person tortured live. Recorded in cinematic 4K, uploaded through back channels that would never touch a public IP. They picked us from our socials. We were just interesting enough, just off-grid enough to vanish, without headlines. Influencer-adjacent nobodies, glorified background characters, and we signed up willingly, because free drinks and curated tents and aesthetic invites blind you to the most basic instinct of survival. Josh finally moved. He ran at me, full sprint, tackled me to the ground, not to save me, to stop me. He whispered, "They let me live. I made a deal. Don't ruin this." I bit his ear. I fucking bit into his ear and tore until he screamed. I got up and kicked him off me. Didn't even look back. I ran for the cars. All of them were gone, replaced with mirrors. I'm not kidding. Where the cars were parked were now these tall, freestanding antique mirrors, gold-framed, warped, reflective, even in the dark. Some had names carved into them. My name was on the third one, and as I stood there staring, my reflection smiled back at me. Not me. Not really. Something wearing my face. It blinked out of sync, tilted its head like a puppet. Then the glass cracked, right down the middle, and on the other side, I saw footage of me, sleeping, in my tent, being filmed. I ran. I don't remember how I got out. I blacked out. Maybe someone let me go. Maybe they wanted a survivor, a witness, some kind of post-credit epilogue for the real show. I woke up in a gas station parking lot in Binghamton, naked under a hoodie that wasn't mine. My phone was in my pocket. No texts, no calls. Just one new app I'd never downloaded, with a single screen. Club NYCT. You watched. Now you're part of the feed. The app vanished when I blinked. Josh, gone. Sarah, haven't seen her since. Cops think I was high and crashed a party. They found nothing where I said the campground was. No tents, no blood, just dirt and dead trees and the remains of a rusted out billboard that used to advertise a spa from the 90s. But I know what I saw. I wasn't hallucinating. Someone out there is still watching. Maybe you. Maybe you clicked on this thread and your camera just activated. Check your reflection. If your smile doesn't match, run. I didn't go home. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I'd see that app logo, Club NYCT, burning into the inside of my skull like an afterimage left by staring into headlights too long. I kept imagining that if I fell asleep, I'd wake up not in my room, not in a bed, but back in that forest, surrounded by silent faces, waiting for me to move so they could react like puppets cued by an unseen director. So instead, I drove. Nowhere specific, just highways and rest stops and gas stations that smelled like bleach and stale donuts. My brain wouldn't let me think in straight lines. Everything felt recorded, curated, like someone had set my life on a dolly track and was pushing the camera behind me on smooth wheels. The first sign something was wrong came around 2 a.m. I stopped at a Starbucks that was somehow still open, one of those off the interstate ones with fluorescent lights that make everyone look sickly. I ordered a black coffee, sat down, pulled out my phone, and the screen lit up without me touching it. Not with an app, with the front camera. My face filled the screen, pale, eyes wide, breathing too fast. Then a notification blinked across the bottom. Your stream is live. 14,201 viewers. I dropped the phone so fast, it clattered across the table. People looked over. Truckers, students, a couple in matching hoodies. But no one reacted like they'd seen the notification. Or maybe they had and didn't want to get involved. My phone kept vibrating, over and over, like someone was spamming reactions or sending hearts, even though there was no visible interface, nothing familiar, nothing I could tap, just my face, filling the screen, and a counter that kept rising, 14,800, 15,000, 40, 15,000, 200, 16,001. I turned the phone off. Hard reset. Held the buttons until the screen went black. It turned itself back on before I lifted my finger. Still live. Still streaming. Still climbing. And then the comments appeared. Not typed messages. Whispers. Layered audio. Faint like it had been recorded underwater. Voices overlapping, echoing, distorted, yet aimed at me. He's alone. He hasn't eaten. He's slowing down. Does he know? I slammed the phone face down on the table and pressed my palms over my ears, but the voices somehow got louder, like they were inside my skull, vibrating along the bone. I left the coffee, left the phone, just walked out into the cold October night air, hoping the chill would snap me out of whatever this was. I made it halfway across the parking lot before I realized the phone was vibrating in my pocket again. I hadn't taken it, but it was with me. I didn't check how. I didn't want to know. I drove again, shaking, sweating, unable to stop glancing at the mirrors, because every time I did, the reflection felt half a second delayed, like my body moved, and the reflection followed, unsure if it was supposed to copy or not. Around dawn, I pulled into a run-down roadside motel, the kind with buzzing neon signs and room doors that look like they've been kicked more times than unlocked. I paid in cash. The clerk didn't look at me, not directly. He kept glancing to the side, like someone was standing behind me. No one was. I locked myself inside the room, barred the door with a chair, pushed the dresser against it for good measure. My phone vibration finally stopped. For maybe 40 minutes, there was silence. No app, no whispers, no glitches. For a moment, I let myself hope maybe the whole thing had fried the hardware and died. I even thought about calling someone, anyone, my parents, a friend, a coworker, except What would I even say? Hey, I escaped a boutique influencer death cult, and now my phone streams my life to strangers who whisper about me. Yeah, right. Straight to a psych ward. Still, I turned the phone over. The screen was black, dead. But when I tilted it, ever so slightly, the glass caught a shimmer, like a faint reflection. Not of me, not of the room, a forest. I threw the phone onto the bed like it had burned me. My breathing went sharp and shallow. That wasn't a glitch. That wasn't a background image. Someone was streaming to me. I knelt down beside the bed, heart blasting like a siren inside my chest, and slowly, carefully, raised the phone again. The forest came into focus. Not generic woods. They're woods. Club Nike's campground. Empty, except for something half buried in the dirt. A tent. No. A person. Someone lying face down, unmoving, hair matted, clothing torn and coated in dirt. A shaking began under the camera. Someone was holding the phone. Someone was walking towards the body. No, not walking. Dragging. Breathing heavy, raspy, like each inhale scraped their throat raw. I tried to turn the phone off. The button did nothing. I tried to unplug the battery. Impossible on the model. I tried to cover the screen with my shirt. The image shone through the fabric like a backlit projector. I couldn't look away. The camera got closer to the body until I could just barely see the face, and my entire stomach turned to ice. It was Sarah, alive, barely. Her eyes were open, staring directly into the camera like she was trying to send a message through the lens alone. Her lips were moving. I leaned in, trying to read them. One word, just one. Run. Then a hand, pale, slender, with nails too long to be natural, reached onto the screen as if trying to grab me through the glass. Everything went black for 3 seconds. Then text appeared. The feed likes your reaction. Would you like to see more? Yes. Yes. I dropped the phone onto the carpet and backed into the farthest corner of the room until my spine hit the wall so hard my teeth rattled. Something moved on the other side of the door. Not footsteps. Breathing. Slow, greedy inhalations right at the crack under the door, like someone was smelling me through it. Then, a knock. Light, polite, like room service, followed by a voice I never wanted to hear again. Milo. You left early. Another knock. The viewers miss you. Silence. Then soft and playful. If you open the door, I'll show you how you got off the list. I covered my mouth with both hands to keep from making a sound. The breathing stopped. The shadows under the door shifted, like feet turning away. I didn't move for hours, not until sunlight filled the room, and the motel clerk knocked to ask if I wanted to extend my stay. When I finally checked the phone again, the screen was blank. No app, no forest, no whispers, just one new wallpaper, a photo of my motel room, taken from outside the window, taken while I was asleep, taken at exactly the same minute the breathing stopped at the door, and in the corner of the frame, barely visible unless you zoom in, was something standing in the hallway's shadow, tall, still, watching, its face turned towards the glass, waiting. They weren't following me. They weren't chasing me. They were filming me. And the feed never stops. I didn't leave the motel. Not that day. Not that night. I barricaded the door with both beds, unplugged the TV, taped towels to the windows, and crushed my phone under the heel of the lamp base until it was nothing but wires and glass. Even then, I burned the pieces in the motel's rusted-out grill behind the ice machine. The flame turned green for a second when the battery caught, and I swear, something behind the trees laughed like it was bored, like it had seen this part before. That was the part that haunted me. Nothing I did felt new. It was like I was moving along a script already written by someone else, someone who knew exactly how I'd panic, when I'd run, how I'd hide, like my fear had been forecast. I remember sitting on the edge of the motel bathtub that night, with the light off, the cold porcelain biting my thighs through my jeans, trying to remember what real silence sounded like. Not feed silence, real silence. No buzzing, no mechanical humming, no phantom whispers behind the drywall. And for a moment, I found it. Stillness. Real stillness. Then the water in the faucet breathed. I didn't imagine it. You don't imagine something like that. The knobs shifted by themselves. A whisper of pressure, a twitch, then the faintest rasp of something pulling air through metal, like the pipes had lungs. And then, behind me, in the mirror, "You've been upgraded." No reflection, no person, just text. Red, blinking, burned into the glass like a hotel vacancy sign. I ran out barefoot, clothes soaked in sweat, eyes wide open and aching. I sprinted past the front desk and out into the night, expecting to find my car, except it wasn't there. But there was a car, a black luxury SUV with its engine running, no license plates, just the club and niched logo branded into the passenger side like a scar, the chrome eye, wide open, iris shaped like a shutter. A white envelope sat on the windshield. Inside, a metal card, heavy, cold, unmarked. On the back, a single line, carved in microscopic font. "You're a Tier 3 subscriber now. You don't get to leave the show." That's when I understood. There were no victims in Club Necked. Not anymore. Once your name drops off the hit list, you don't vanish. You evolve. They put you on payroll. That was 3 days ago. Here's what I know now. There are tiers, membership levels. It's not just about watching, not for the deep-pocketed psychos behind the curtain, the ones who don't just want to see blood, but want control. Tier 1, viewers. They pay to watch. Tier 2, donors. They pay to choose. Tier 3, subscribers. And Tier 3, they live in it, not by choice, not because they enjoy it, because they survived. The ones who get away, they're never free. They're turned into content, fed back into the algorithm like meat into a grinder. Some get hunted again. Some get wired up and dropped into games like real-life saw traps. Others are promoted, given black cards, made into guides. People like Milo, people who know the route, know where the fear spikes, when to make the call, when to blink the screen, when to knock. And now, I'm one of them. I don't remember getting in the SUV. I don't remember the drive. I just woke up in a grey room with glass walls and a white chair and a flat screen monitor looping footage of me. Every moment since the campground, the Starbucks, the motel, even the mirror. Every detail logged, timed, tagged. In the corner of the screen, engagement 92%. Below it, reaction value high. Next to it, recommended role, host. A slot opened in the wall. Inside, a set of clothes, black slacks, crisp white shirt, red tie, a pin shaped like an eye. Next slot, a folder with 6 headshots inside. None of them were famous, just normal people, smiling, LinkedIn-style bios. A real estate agent from Dallas, a film student in Berlin, a Starbucks barista from Queens, a teacher, a nurse, a guy who sells NFTs. All of them absolutely average, all of them totally forgettable. And on the top of the folder, again in red, they've accepted the invite. They think it's a retreat. My hands moved without me. I didn't want to open the laptop. but I did. There were templates, packages, campground package, cruise package, urban hunt package, apartment distortion protocol. Each came with roles, maps, soundtrack cues. They even had AI scripts for the wildcards. That's what they called us. People like Sarah, like me, the ones who broke the pattern, ran early, screamed off cue. It didn't matter. The show adapted. The feed always adapts. I'm writing this now because I need you to understand what's coming. Because I pick someone, not by choice. They make you choose. And I did. I picked someone random. Someone I knew wouldn't be missed right away. I picked a guy who posted bored as hell on his Instagram story 6 hours ago. His name's Kyle. He thinks he's going on a sponsored cabin weekend with 3 new influencer friends he met through Discord. They booked the Airbnb. It's real. It exists. But what Kyle doesn't know is the mirrors are already there, that the power is already rigged, that the owners are never coming back. I'm writing this from the control room, the director's nest, they call it. Feeds from 6 angles, each corner of the cabin, each trail into the woods, even the drain in the shower. The subscribers are already queued. They've paid. The clock's ticking. They want screams. They want breakdowns. They want genuine collapse. And I'm the one pressing the buttons now. Because if I don't, the folder changes, the names go back in, and mine floats to the top. One more thing. One more sick detail. And then I'll stop writing because the feed doesn't like long pauses. You know that little shutter sound when a phone takes a picture? It's not fake. It's not a digital soundbite. It's real. That's what they use. A real shutter from a vintage 35mm camera buried in the walls of every set. You don't hear it with your ears, but your body does. Your spine does. That twitch you feel, that shiver down your back, that's the sound of your fear being saved. That's the feed tagging your data. You don't even need to be on site anymore. Club nighties everywhere, embedded in mirrors, coffee shop security cams, Bluetooth speakers in your car. You think those filters on Snapchat are funny? Try watching one glitch and show someone standing behind you who isn't there. And if you see the eye, if you ever see it in your reflection, that chromed out iris clicking shut, you've already been upgraded. I promised myself I wouldn't watch Kyle, but the feed doesn't work like that. You don't tune in, you get pulled in. The moment the SUV dropped him and the others off at the rented cabin, every monitor in the director's nest woke like a nest of metallic insects. Each screen glowed with its own heartbeat, soft white pulses that synchronized with mine until the entire room felt alive, breathing, waiting for me to sit, waiting for me to obey. I told myself I wouldn't look. I'd walk out the door, escape, burn the building down if I had to. But when I turned toward the exit, the doorknob rotated before I touched it, slowly, gently, like someone on the other side had been holding it, waiting. I didn't open it. I sat, and the feed welcomed me like an applause you can't hear but feel under your skin. Cabin. At first, everything looked normal. Kyle and the 3 others dragging their bags in, laughing, complaining about the drive. The camera angles were clean, steady, too perfect. Every angle pre-lit, every shot already in cinematic framing. It made the cabin feel staged, fake, like a replica built just for them, just for this. They didn't know that each mirror held a lens deeper than the glass. They didn't know the power outlet near the couch had a microphone thinner than a hair. They didn't know the decorative antlers on the wall tracked their motion like sonar. They didn't know I was there. The monitors labeled them automatically. Subject A, Kyle. Subject B, Emma. Subject C, Tyler. Subject D, Renai. Healthy, excited, relaxed. For now. The feed highlighted Kyle first, his face boxed in red. His biometric readings appeared in the corner. Heart rate 79, stress index 22%, predicted reaction time 0.82 seconds, engagement value rising. My stomach twisted. They didn't see people, they saw metrics. To them, Kyle wasn't a victim. He was content potential. The first glitch. It started at 7:14 p.m. Subject C, Tyler, was making ramen on the stove when one of the lights flickered. Not a normal flicker. It strobed once, hard, and in that one frozen millisecond, every screen in the director's nest distorted. The image showed all four of them in the main room, except Carl. His outline was there, but blurred, stretched thin, like the feed was trying to erase him or draw him from memory. A whisper crawled across the speakers, soft, almost curious. Is he ready yet? When the lights came back, Kyle was standing exactly where he had been, but he wasn't holding the mug anymore. His hands were empty, and he was staring at the window, at something none of the others could see, but I could. The cameras caught it. A shape, tall, motionless, leaning just out of sight, like a shadow waiting for its cue. The engagement meter spiked. The mirror event. At 9:03 p.m., Emma noticed the bathroom mirror. She called the others in, laughing nervously. One of those laughs that's too high-pitched to be real, because the condensation on the mirror wasn't random. It had words. Hello, subscriber. None of them wrote it. None of them could explain it. Carl touched the glass with one shaky fingertip. The word subscriber smeared, and beneath the smear was another word, carved into the underlying silver. You. I didn't press anything. I didn't trigger that. The feed acted on its own, like it had been waiting for him to look. Carl backed away so fast he hit the tub, knocking toiletries into the sink. He whispered, "Guys, someone's in the house." The feed loved that. Every meter jumped. Terror. Index. 64% respiratory. Spike. 80%. Engagement. Maximum. The system purred. Lights dimmed. The whole cabin leaned forward like a predator listening. This was its favorite part. The part before comprehension. Before the scream. The realization. At 11:22 p.m., Carl finally said it out loud. Something's watching us. But the others didn't want to believe him. People never do. Denial is easier, comforting. The feed feeds on that. The cabin lights flickered again, but this time, the blackout lasted 7 full seconds. 7 seconds of pure dark. And in that dark, the audio caught something. Not footsteps, not voices, just breathing. Close. Human. Too close. When the lights returned, the four of them were frozen mid-movement, except Kyle. Kyle wasn't looking at the mirror anymore. He was looking at me. Somehow, impossibly, he was staring straight through the camera, straight into the director's nest. His pupils dilated. His breath hitched. He whispered, "Why are you doing this?" My entire body iced over, because I hadn't pressed anything, hadn't spoken, hadn't done a single thing. But the feed whispered through the speakers, my voice, but distorted, stretched, smiling. "Because you clicked." I didn't say that. The feed said it for me. It didn't just record you. It becomes you. The end of the stream. At 2:09 a.m., the cabin door unlocked. Not forced, not opened. Unlocked. Slowly. Almost politely. Carl stood closest. He didn't run. He didn't scream. He just said, quietly, "I know you're there," and he stepped toward the door. The others begged him not to. Emma sobbed. Tyler vomited. Renee hid behind the sofa, with her hand shaking so hard she dropped her phone twice. But Carl walked to the door anyway, like he had to, like something behind his eyes was guiding him. He put his hand on the knob, and the camera blinked, not glitched, blinked, like an eyelid closing, then opening, and when the feed came back, Kyle was gone, just gone. The door was open, the night was still, the others were screaming, but Kyle wasn't anywhere in the house, not on the cameras, not on the trails, not on the motion sensors, just absent, removed, like a file deleted from a hard drive, and on every monitor, one new notification lowered from the top of the screen like a curtain. Subscriber promotion, complete welcome, host user, Kyle, your turn is over, my turn, my role, my existence, erased, replaced. I looked at my reflection in the dark glass of the nearest monitor. It didn't move. It didn't blink. It wasn't me. And then, it smiled. The final note. I'm not in the director's nest anymore. I'm nowhere. No doors. No walls. Just darkness that listens. I don't feel my hands. Don't feel my legs. Don't feel anything except the low hum of the feed, like a heartbeat made of static. Kyle is somewhere else now, running his own show, pressing his own buttons, watching someone else tremble under fluorescent lights. And I'm stuck here, in the dark room, beneath the dark room, beneath the dark room, the place where the hosts go when their season ends, the place where mirrors don't reflect you back, the place where the feed edits you out of existence. If you're reading this, if you think it's just a story, check your camera. If it blinks, even once, congratulations. You've just been added to the queue. I work night security at a remote winter camp. A dark web listing just posted live footage of one of our cabins. You guys have cameras out there, right? What's up, Reddit? Throwaway account for obvious reasons. I'm not trying to lose my job over this, but I need to get this story off my chest while it's still fresh and while I'm still, alive and coherent. I work night security at a remote winter camp up in Colorado. I won't say the name, but let's just say it's one of those old scout-style seasonal retreat camps that looks cute in the daytime and like it's haunted as hell after dark. Think pine trees taller than apartment buildings, one bar of service on a good day, and cabins that look like they haven't been renovated since the Carter administration. The thing is, it's not summer. We only run partial rentals for off-season retreats in winter, church groups, TikTok couples trying to be off-grid for the clout. One time, a bunch of crypto bros booked the whole place and tried to convince me to buy into some NFT forest coin or whatever. But this weekend, it's dead quiet. We've only got 2 cabins booked. Cabin 4 has a couple from Austin doing some van life in the woods type content for YouTube. I saw their channel. They're not bad. Lots of slow-mo coffee, pouring and shots of pine needles. And Cabin 9, it's a solo guy, mid-40s, kinda quiet. Said he was finishing a manuscript and needed peace. I only saw him once when he checked in, but he had that sunken-eyed look like he hadn't slept in a week. Anyway, I usually sit in the main office building overnight. It's got the security feeds, a space heater that only works when you insult it, and a coffee pot that brews sludge. It's chill. Most nights I just watch TikTok, maybe hit up my burner Instagram I use to DM memes to myself, and occasionally check the camera feeds. Nothing ever happens. Until last night. Around 2:30 a.m., I get this message on my alt Discord account. I don't even use that Discord anymore. Haven't in months. I used to go into these weird backroom liminal space ARG servers because I thought it was cool, but I got bored of it. The message just says, check this, Cabin 9 is live, with a link, http://bl-fork vision.market/live_feed9. At first I'm like, okay, no, this is either spam or a virus. But then curiosity hit me like a dopamine truck. I mean, Cabin 9? That's our Cabin 9. So I do what any underpaid night shift goblin would do. I copy the link in a sandbox browser, relax, I'm not an idiot, paste it in, and holy shut, it's real. A live feed, static at first, then it flickers and I'm looking directly into Cabin 9, like the exact same angle as our own security feed. But the thing is, we don't have cameras in the cabins. None. It's against policy. It's illegal. At first I think it's a prank. Maybe some sick 4chan stunt or viral campaign. I don't know. But then the guy appears. The man renting it. He's sitting at the tiny table, just staring at something on the floor off frame. He's not writing. Just still. Rigid. I switch to our actual feed system. Our exterior cam outside Cabin 9 shows it's 2:37 a.m. and the cabin's lights are off. But on this stream, they're flickering. Not off. Not even flickering like old bulbs. Flickering like a bad VCR tape. I should have called someone, but I didn't. I just kept watching. Then the camera panned. No one touched it. It just moved like a mechanical glide, smooth as hell, and it tilted down, slowly. I could hear the whir of gears, like an animatronic, and that's when I saw something I will never forget. There was something under the bed. No, not a shadow, or a sleeping bag, or junk. Someone, a woman, pale skin, twisted into the most unnatural curl I've ever seen, like her joints bent the wrong way. Her face was covered in a sheer white veil, like an actual veil, the kind brides wear, but blood-stained. I clicked out. I noped the hell out of the tab, heart going 100 beats per minute. My room suddenly felt so much colder. Then the power cut out. Total darkness. I grabbed the flashlight, scanned the room, switched the backup battery feed. Everything was out. Every camera feed, every light in the building, except one tiny red LED blinking from the modem. The only thing still running was that one mystery site. I could hear the laptop fan whirring like it was about to explode. I hesitated, then reopened the tab, and now the feed was outside the cabin. I swear on my life, I saw myself, in the feed, walking toward the cabin. Exact same flashlight, exact same hoodie. I don't even remember standing up. I was frozen at my desk. Then the door creaked open in the video. And the woman, she wasn't under the bed anymore. That was last night. I haven't told anyone. Cabin 9 checked out early this morning. Guy left before sunrise. No goodbye. Just tossed the key on the front porch and left. And now, tonight, at exactly 2:37 a.m., the same Discord user sent me another link. This one says, Cabin 4 is live. The notification came through exactly at 2:37 a.m., not 2:36, not 2:38, 2:37. The same minute the lights died the night before. My laptop screen glowed in the office like a little square moon. Everything else was swallowed in darkness again. Not a normal blackout either. The heater hum stopped mid-breath. The vending machine clicked off. Even the digital clock on the wall dimmed into nothing, like someone had pinched the electricity from the building with 2 fingers, and the Discord message sat there, pulsing softly. Cabin 4 is live. http://bl/forkvision.market/live_feed4. The couple from Austin, the van lifers, had returned from skiing earlier that evening. They'd come by the office for firewood, chatting about how they planned to do a wholesome winter cabin vlog for their Sunday upload. They were sweet. Too sweet for whatever this was. I hovered over the link. I don't know why I clicked it. Fear makes you stupid. Isolation makes you reckless. Curiosity. Curiosity is the oldest predator on Earth. The stream opened instantly. Static. Crackling. Then a slow fade. Cabin 4's interior was lit by a single lantern. Not theirs. Ours don't look like that. Ours have plastic casing and a corporate logo. This one looked antique. Bronze frame, yellowed glass, flame flickering inside like a heartbeat. The couple wasn't visible at first. Instead, the camera was positioned in the far corner of the cabin ceiling, angled just enough to see the entire room. Cabin door, small kitchenette, bunk bed, and the window facing the woods. Exactly the angle a security camera would use. Except we have no cameras in the cabins. We've never had cameras in the cabins. My stomach folded into itself. The feed glitched. A soft pulsing distortion, like the whole world was breathing in slow motion. And then the couple walked into frame. But something was wrong. They moved like they weren't moving on their own. Like each step was chosen for them by something standing behind them and pressing a finger into the back of their necks. The woman kept turning her head slightly, as if listening to someone who wasn't there. The man kept rubbing his wrist, like something cold had been tied tightly around it. They didn't talk. If they opened their mouths, the audio didn't pick it up. The only sound was the lantern flame, fluttering each time the feed flickered. Then the camera began to pan, the same impossible mechanical glide as the Cabin 9 stream, slow, deliberate, the motion of something that wants you to notice that it's watching. It turned toward the window. Outside, the woods were dead still, not even snow falling, just a black wall of vertical tree trunks. Then something shifted among them. Not a person, not an animal. A shape, pale, too long, too smooth, slipping between the trees like it was gliding over ice. The shape passed behind another trunk, then another, then stopped exactly where the lantern's glow faded to darkness. It paused, in a way only something aware pauses, like it wanted the camera to see it, like it wanted me to. The woman in the cabin slowly raised her head, eyes locked on the window, her lips parted, and for the first time, I heard sound through the stream, a whisper, soft, rhythmic, almost grateful. It found us. Not fear, not shock, recognition. The man stepped backward, bumping into the bunk bed, his expression loose and blank, like someone had unplugged him. The woman placed a hand on the window as the pale shape started to move closer, still gliding, still too smooth. I slammed the laptop shut. When I tell you my body reacted on its own, I mean I genuinely don't remember moving. My hands were sweating so hard the laptop nearly slipped. I could hear my own pulse in my ears, loud enough to drown out the silence in the room. It took me 4 breaths to open the laptop again. The stream was still live, but the window was empty. The woman was now standing dead center in the room, back straight, head tilted upward, like she was waiting for something to descend through the ceiling. Her eyes were rolled a little too far back. Not white, not unnatural, just wrong in a way that made something deep inside me recoil. The man was in the lower bunk now, not lying down, sitting, completely still, hands flat at his sides. His jaw was trembling, like he was trying to speak through locked muscles. The camera panned again, toward the cabin door. The lantern flickered once, then twice. Something tapped on the outside of the door. Not knocking, not scratching. A single, deliberate tap. The woman's head snapped toward it, with an audible crack. My hand froze on the trackpad. The camera zoomed. Not the cheap digital zoom of a webcam, but a smooth optical zoom, like whatever was filming had a lens built with intention. The tapping continued. 3 taps. Pause. 2 taps. Pause. 3 taps again. A pattern. A code. The man in the bunk finally turned his head, slowly, and whispered, voice thin as thread, "Don't answer it." But the woman was already moving toward the door with that same puppet-like stiffness, her steps silent, almost floating. She reached the deadbolt with a trembling hand. My voice came out of me before I could stop it. "Don't!" I don't know why I said it. She couldn't hear me, but some instinct older than language ripped the word out of my throat. She undid the bolt. The tapping stopped. Silence. The camera zoomed in as her fingers closed around the doorknob. And then, the stream cut to black. My screen reflected my own face, back at me. Wide eyes, mouth open, looking as horrified as I felt. The office lights flickered back to life, humming like nothing had happened. The heater sputtered awake. The vending machine rebooted. When the camera system came back online, I switched to the exterior view of cabin 4. The snow around it was untouched. The porch light was on, but the cabin door was standing wide open. And the couple, they weren't there. No footprints led into the woods. No tire tracks led away. No shadows moved inside the cabin. Just an open door, swaying gently in the winter wind. Behind me, my laptop dinged again. A new message. "You're next." 2:37. I checked the time. 2:21 a.m. 16 minutes. Something in the woods began to move, and every light in the office flickered like a held breath. I didn't leave the chair. Couldn't. Every instinct said move, but my muscles felt like someone had poured concrete into them. Even my breath felt artificial, like I was mimicking the idea of breathing instead of actually doing it. The timer on my laptop ticked forward 1 minute at a time. 2:22 a.m. The woods outside pressed against the windows in a way trees shouldn't. They didn't lean. They didn't sway. They crowded, as though the entire forest was inching closer, waiting, listening, adjusting itself to the approaching moment. I didn't want to check the camera feeds, but I had to. Cabin 4's exterior camera showed the door still open, the doorway pitch black. Not dark, black. A black that swallowed the snow glow like a sinkhole. If the couple had stepped out, the snow should have shown footprints, the powder disturbed, the soft dunes collapsed. Nothing. Just an open door, breathing cold air. I flipped to cabin 9. Empty porch, empty windows, empty world. But the lights inside flickered once. Once was enough. 2:23 a.m. The heater switched off again. Not a power loss. Something clicked it off, manually. The lever snapped down like an invisible finger pressed it. Behind me. I didn't turn around. I told myself it was old equipment, faulty wiring, metal expanding. But the truth was simpler and far worse. Something else was in the room. Something that moved when I moved. Something that waited when I waited. My phone buzzed. I nearly jumped out of my skin. A Twitter notification. Except the banner wasn't from Twitter. It was Twitter's interface, but the username wasn't one I followed. It wasn't a username at all. Just coordinates. 39.2087 degrees north. 106.9378 degrees west. The location of the camp. Every single notification on my lock screen began changing. Instagram, Snapchat, Reddit, Gmail, all of them transforming their previews into the same coordinates, the same numbers, over and over, like the phone was whispering in the language made of latitude and longitude. Then they froze, and every app displayed the same final message. Look, outside. 2:24 a.m. Against every survival instinct, I turned to the window. At first, I saw nothing. Just my own reflection hovering over the trees, pale with office light, eyes blown wide. Then the trees parted, not from wind, not from an animal. They parted the way people part when something important walks through them. A shape stepped into view, not human, not animal, something in between, like someone had stretched the silhouette of a person until the proportions blurred into something your brain tries to reject. The body was tall, too tall, and thin in a way bones should snap under. No clothing, no features, just the suggestion of a head tilting toward the building, watching me, waiting. Something clicked inside my chest. Not a physical sensation, but a memory, a feeling, like the moment before a nightmare starts, when you know something is about to pull you under, but you're not asleep yet. Then my laptop chimed. New message from the same Discord user. 2:25. Don't run. The lights flickered overhead. I didn't blink. Couldn't. I watched the figure at the tree line. It didn't blink either. Or maybe it didn't have eyes. It took one step forward, then another. Silent. Too controlled. Like it didn't walk so much as rearrange the space beneath it. I checked the exterior camera, pointed at the woods. Static. Then the figure reappeared in the feed. But in the feed, it was closer than it was outside. My heart slammed twice. I looked back outside. It took another step. Looked at the monitor. Closer. Outside. Closer. Monitor. Closer. As if reality and the stream were competing to see which version of this thing would reach me first. 2:26 a.m. The office door's handle twitched. Just once. A tiny metallic jerk. Then again, slower, like someone was turning it carefully, trying not to be heard. I backed into the desk. Every hair on my arms rose at once. My throat locked itself. The handle turned all the way. Stopped. Then, softly, impossibly softly, something pressed against the door. Not pounding, not scratching. A slow, exploring pressure, like fingertips dragging across the surface, feeling the grain, mapping it, memorizing it. The figure at the tree line stopped moving, not because it reached the building, because the thing at the door had beaten it here. My radio crackled suddenly, violently, loud enough to make me slap a hand over my headphones. A voice hissed through, a wet static whisper, glitching in and out. Copy, cabin, wrong, not him, don't, door, don't. Then silence. Not the comfortable kind, the kind that feels staged. 2:27 a.m. The laptop chimed again. You will see her this time. Her. The woman from cabin 9. The one with the veil. The one who moved wrong. I opened the stream automatically, not because I wanted to, but because something in the message felt like a command disguised as a suggestion. The dark web listing for cabin 4 flickered back on. The cabin was empty. The lantern was still lit, but the door wasn't open anymore. It was closed. Then the camera panned downward to the floorboards. Slow, gentle, almost reverent. A hand slid into view from beneath the bed. Not pale, not twisted. Worse, familiar. The woman's hand. The same veil wrapped around her wrist. She crawled out, slowly, vertebra by vertebra, like her spine was being unspooled. Her hair dragged across the wooden floor like something drenched. She rose to her feet in a single movement, no transition between positions. 1 second curled on the floor, the next standing perfectly still, like a frame had been cut out of reality. Then she lifted her head. Her face was covered again. Same translucent veil, same soft outline of eyes that shouldn't be where they were. And she leaned directly into the camera, not toward the lens, into it, as though she knew I was watching, as though she saw through it. And the stream whispered, 6 minutes, 2:31 a.m. The figure outside was now gone. The pressure at the door had stopped. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then my laptop, my phone, the office TV, the security monitors, every screen in the room flickered at once and displayed the same image. The office I was standing in, but empty, but the door in that image, wide open, and something, was standing just out of frame. My radio clicked on one more time. Not static, not a voice. Breathing. Slow, steady, patient. 2:32 a.m. 5 minutes until 2:37. 5 minutes until whatever happened to the cabins happened to me. The doorknob turned again, and this time, it didn't stop. The office door didn't swing open like in horror movies. It folded inward, silently, like it had been soaked in water and melted open under its own weight, and nothing stood behind it. At first, the hallway was empty, cold, flickering, but not normal. Cold, not winter cold. A kind of internal cold, like the kind that spreads when you realize you forgot to lock the door hours ago, and now you hear footsteps inside your house. The doorknob was still turning on its own, slow, back and forth, not unlocking, not opening, feeling. Behind me, every single monitor blinked off, one by one, each with a faint click like someone gently turning off a switch beside my ear, except one, the far right screen, the one not connected to any of the camp's surveillance, flickered back to life and showed a hallway. Not here, not in this building. It was a basement, old, concrete, red door at the end, same lantern from cabin 4, glowing on the floor. Someone walked into frame, not the woman, not the man, not the figure from the woods. Me. It was me. Same hoodie, same busted Nikes, same scar on my wrist I got when I slipped trying to change out a security light a year ago. But this version of me, he walked like the couple did, like the thing inside the walk was just using my body as transportation. I stared, frozen. Then, behind me, the real me, the air cracked, loud, like drywall splitting down the middle. A sound that had weight to it, the kind of sound you feel before you hear. I turned, and finally saw her. She was standing halfway between the hallway and my desk, the veil still clinging to her head like wet silk. Her hands were at her sides, but her fingers twitched, slow, clicking movements, like broken piano keys trying to play themselves. Under the veil, her mouth opened, but instead of speaking, she exhaled, and the air dimmed, not the lights, the actual air, like everything between me and her had thickened into syrup. My eyes burned, my knees buckled. She took a step forward. I didn't move, not because I was brave, because every part of my body screamed in opposite directions. The only instinct I had left was collapse. The laptop pinged. Another Discord message, even though I'd shut the window. If you look away, you'll be in the video. If you speak, she'll know your name. If you run, you'll lead her back. Then the stream window opened itself. I didn't touch the keyboard, didn't blink, just opened. Live feed, not from the cabins, not from the woods, inside this very office. But the version in the video was wrong. Smaller, dimmer, ceiling lower somehow, like the space was folding in on itself. And two of me were there now, one standing, one crawling up the wall in the corner like a spider with human skin, its mouth opened wide, wider, skin tearing, still silent. Then, the screen went black, except one word typed itself across the feed. 0 minutes left. A sound like ripping meat behind me. I turned, and the woman had pulled the veil off. No face, not a blank face, a missing one. An open cavity of twitching recording devices embedded in flesh. Tiny red lights blinking like Christmas tree lights, tangled in meat. Old cameras, wires, exposed lenses whirring as they focused in and out, trying to decide which version of me was the real one. She stepped closer, and behind her, others began stepping in, out of the hallway, out of the walls, out of the office screens, all veiled, all twitching, all wrong. One of them wore the exact same Patagonia jacket the girl from Cabin 4 had. Another had fingers stained in ink, like the writer from Cabin 9, but their legs weren't connected right, like they had been assembled backwards and just never corrected. They moved toward me in perfect sync, but with sound delays. Their steps would hit the floor, then echo 2 seconds too late, like reality hadn't caught up with what they were. And in unison, they whispered, broken, old, analog voices, like tape recorders rewinding mid-playback. You opened the stream. You saw us. You let it in. My head split with pressure. I dropped to the floor. I don't remember falling, just landing. The carpet wasn't carpet anymore. It was snow. Ice crunched under my hands. And the office was gone. I was standing in the woods, exactly at the edge of the trees where I'd seen the tall figure the night before. Except now, I was standing in its footsteps, footprints too long, stretching ahead of me into the woods where there were no paths, only pitch black emptiness that looked like it went down instead of forward. And behind me, in the camp, every cabin lit up, not with lights, with screens. Each window now had a monitor inside it, all facing outward, live streams. Every cabin was broadcasting, even ones we hadn't rented, even cabins that had been demolished years ago. Inside the streams were versions of me, all of them slightly off, some staring, some screaming, some opening doors that led to hallways underground, no matter where they started. The closest cabin door slammed open. A red light poured out of it like a camera in record mode. A figure stepped out. It was me. Face hollow, eyes missing, and in each socket a blinking lens. Its mouth opened. Not a scream, not a growl, a modem tone. That piercing 90s dial-up screech, raw and metallic, and glitched. I turned to run. I made it 3 steps before the ground under me cracked. Not broke, not collapsed. Cracked like glass. Like I had stepped onto a pane of reality too thin to hold weight. And beneath it, more screens. Hundreds. Thousands. Each with someone else. Other people like me. Camp workers, drivers, tourists, urban explorers. Trapped. Watching. streaming. Each stream labeled with a name, each name in red. Each one had a countdown. Only mine had reached 0. I fell through. Falling wasn't falling. It was being pulled, like gravity had been rewritten specifically for me. Like the world had decided I no longer belonged on its surface. The glass beneath me shattered without sound. No crash, no echo. Just a soft, folding hiss, like someone breathing in cold air. Then darkness, not the absence of light. A presence, thick and absolute. The kind of darkness that presses against your eyelids, even when your eyes are open. I could still feel the cold air ripping around me, but I couldn't see anything except faint shapes, outlines of screens floating past, like jellyfish in deep water. Each screen showed a person. Each person showed a room. Each room showed something entering. I hit ground softly, like I'd landed on a mattress of compressed dust. But when I pushed myself up, the dust wasn't dust. It was ash. Fine, weightless, clinging to my clothes like residue from burned film. Ahead of me stretched a hallway, not man-made, not natural, more like a recording glitch turned into architecture. Long flickering seams of digital static pulsing along walls made of something colder than stone. A sign hung crooked on the wall, a wooden camp sign, but the text wasn't in any language I recognized. Not letters, not symbols, more like diagram marks used by surveyors trying to map something they didn't understand. A sharp click echoed behind me. I turned. A camera lens hovered in the darkness, suspended by nothing, blinking its red light like a heartbeat. A thin filament trailed behind it, disappearing into the ceiling. The lens rotated, focused on me, and then another appeared beside it, then a third, then dozens, silent, watching, waiting for me to move. I took one step. The cameras moved with me, perfectly synchronized, not following, escorting. The hallway stretched ahead endlessly, except it didn't feel empty. Every few feet, the walls bent outward, forming pockets of space, like alcoves, each containing old objects, arranged as though someone had tried to rebuild entire lives from memory. A cracked smartphone with a glowing notification light. A winter jacket dusted with snowflakes that never melted. A stack of camp brochures from years no one still worked here. A Starbucks cup with a name written in shaky handwriting. A McDonald's receipt timestamped at 2:37 a.m. The cameras hummed. Somewhere far down the corridor, I heard footsteps that didn't match mine. Heavy, uneven, moving with purpose. I kept walking. I don't know how long the hallway lasted. My phone had died. My watch froze on 2:37. Time didn't pass normally here. It felt more like a loop, a held breath, a buffering wheel spinning beneath the world. Eventually, the hallway opened into an enormous underground chamber. This wasn't a basement. This was a vault for people. Screens covered every inch of the walls, floor to ceiling. Thousands of them, each one showing live feeds from different versions of reality, different cabins, different seasons, different people. Some screens were dim and jittering, showing faces staring blankly into darkness. Others flickered violently, showing cabins shaking like earthquakes were hitting only that building. A few were bright, too bright, scenes frozen in overexposed frames where the silhouettes of people were burned in, immobile, like ghosts trapped inside a photograph that never finishes developing. And then I saw something that made my stomach clench. A screen labeled with my name. Not the camp, not the office, not my account. A camera pointed at me, exactly where I stood, except from an angle behind my right shoulder. I spun around. Nothing behind me, but the screen updated in real time. I stepped left. My reflection in the screen stepped left. I raised my hand. It raised its hand. But there was a delay, a tiny one, a fraction of a second, like reality buffering. Something whispered behind me, "Don't trust the one that follows." I dropped to my knees. My throat closed. The cameras above me tilted in unison, focusing like predators adjusted their view of prey about to panic. Then I heard the breathing again, the same slow, patient breathing that came through the radio earlier. It filled the chamber, bouncing off every screen until it felt like the air itself was exhaling. A figure stepped between the screens, not tall like the forest figure, not veiled like the woman. This one wore my face, but stretched, pulled too thin in some places, swollen in others, like someone had sculpted a memory of me out of warm clay and left it in the sun too long. Its eyes blinked out of sync. Its jaw hung slightly open, like it had forgotten how to close it. And its voice, my voice, but empty, murmured, "You're late. We already recorded this part." Then something behind the figure shifted. At first, I thought it was another person, then another, then dozens. Shapes piled into one another, bodies layered over bodies, like a corrupted file duplicating itself. Some had my face, some had the couple's faces, some had no faces at all, just blank skin where eyes and mouths should have been, like they'd been overridden. They moved toward me in a slow wave, not fast, not aggressive, inevitable, like the tide. One of the faceless shapes tilted its head, and in a voice like a detuned radio said, "Every watcher becomes part of the archive." My legs gave out. The world dimmed. The chamber flickered. Every screen turned red. Every camera whirred. Something cold touched the back of my neck. Not a hand, not a tool. Something like a fingertip, made of metal and breath. My vision split, doubled, tripled, until I couldn't tell if I was looking out of my own eyes or the dozens of screens around me. A final message appeared on all of them at once. Stream uploaded. New file added to the dark web archive. Title: Night Security, 2:37 a.m. Status: Live. And on the last screen to fade, I saw the most terrifying thing of all. Me, sitting at the office desk, breathing evenly, staring into the camera, waiting for the next person to click the link. The stream timer below me read, "Live, 0 hours, 0 minutes, 1 second. Then 0 hours, 0 minutes, 2 seconds. Then 3, 2, 1.